Okay, so we are now recording, and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. So today I'm going to review the basics of the Apollo Health Food Plan. And I'm just going to read it from the top. So the plan is about metabolic health, fasting, exercise, and diet. Today I'm going to talk about the diet. So we also track our progress with blood glucose and ketone meters. I have both a ketone meter and a glucose meter, and I take both my ketones and my glucose. And the bulk of the diet is to start every day with fasting. For instance, I stopped eating just before this call tonight, before 6 o'clock. And I probably won't eat again tomorrow until about 10 a.m. So that's about 16 hours of fasting. And I do that, what they call cleaning house. It gives your body to go into a process of autophagy. And autophagy is when you're shedding off dead cells, and your body goes through the process of sweeping all of those dead cells out of the body. And if you don't it doesn't happen if you keep eating. If you get up in the morning and you keep eating all day and you eat until you go to bed, then you basically shut off that switch. So it's important to have a place where you stop eating and don't start again for at least 12, 14, 16 hours. I'm most comfortable in a 16-hour window. That's pretty much how it rolls for me. At about 16 hours, my body goes, time to eat, I'm hungry. So that is level 1 of the food plan, to get your body into a place where you can hold off that first meal. The thing is, if you're a coffee drinker in the morning, and I know that I am, and when you put something in your coffee, you break your fast. Anything that has calories will start your digestive system. So if you're drinking black coffee or black tea, you're fine. If you put something in that coffee, then you're no longer in a state of fasting. The second level is to incorporate 6 to 9 cups of deeply pigmented, organic, seasonal, local, non-starchy vegetables, increasing the amount as tolerated. So start at 6 cups, try to build up to 9 cups a day of good non-starchy vegetables. One of the things that helps me with that is I juice celery. That helps me to get my 6 to 9 cups. And the medical medium recommends that we drink a big glass of celery juice every day, and I love my celery juice. Challenge yourself to bring home a novel vegetable every time you shop in the produce section. Look for something you've never tried before. Include leafy greens, especially those that are converted to nitric oxide. At Costco, I get the big bag of super greens, and I eat 2 of those big bags a week. Include cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, paying careful attention to their preparation to maximize the health benefits. In other words, the Bredesen program tells us not to brown our foods, because browning your oils makes them toxic. Include lots of fresh herbs and spices. I've learned not to shake spices, but I've learned to scoop them and put lots and lots of spices in things. Increase your healthy fat intake to heal insulin resistance while creating ketones to fuel your brain. So I increase my healthy fat mainly with MCT oil, which is a medium chain coconut oil. I also use a high polyphenol olive oil on my raw greens. I use extra virgin olive oil with sometimes cooking my vegetables. I eat a lot of nuts and I eat a lot of avocados. I eat probably one whole avocado every day. Prioritize high polyphenol extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds. I also use a can of unsweetened organic coconut milk, and I mix into that 1/3 of a cup of chia seeds and usually about 1/4 of a cup of blueberries, and I grind that all up in my Vitamix and put that in the fridge, and that is my chia pudding as a really, really nice snack for me. And my husband tasted it and he was like, well, you should put some sweeter fruit in here. And I'm like, that's because you're still eating sugar, so this doesn't taste good to you. To me, this tastes sweet and delicious, but if you're still eating any kind of refined sugars and have all that sugar in your diet, it's not going to taste all that good. But as you get to a place where there isn't sugar and you don't crave sugar anymore, you'll be able to taste a lot of sweetness in foods that aren't very sweet. Be aware that as you heal, your need for dietary fat may decrease over time. So for me, it was just the opposite. I had to keep increasing my dietary fat because as my body burnt off all of its excess fat, and I got down to the low end of my BMI, I really needed to eat more fat so I wouldn't lose so much weight. And then I found that as I ate more fat, I lost even more weight. So I eventually had to add in a little bit more fruit to stop the weight loss. I could do that because I don't have any metabolic issues. I don't have high cholesterol. In fact, I have low cholesterol. I don't have high blood sugar. I don't have to be as careful about fruit sugars as most people on the program do. If you have any, however, if you're trying to get into ketosis in the beginning and you're eating fruit, it won't happen. You got to give up that fruit in the beginning. And then as you get into solid ketosis every day, then you can start adding in little bits of blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, those kind of low sugar berries too. And after you add in those, you can start adding in a half an apple here and there and still stay in ketosis. I know for me, I have no problem staying in ketosis once I've gotten my body into the rhythm of creating ketones every day. That took me months, by the way, in the beginning. It took me months to get into ketosis. And I took 3 tablespoons of MTC oil a day to help me get into ketosis, and I took some ketone salts, and all of those things helped to train my body to create more ketones. Once I was creating ketones, I didn't need those things anymore. My body knew how to do it on its own. If you have any chronic GI issues, work to address the root causes of those GI issues. This is the reason why we work with functional medicine doctors. They will really help you to get a really good functioning gut. They will likely put you on a 3-week elimination diet. And for me, I don't eat anything that makes me feel puffy. If I feel puffy, it's not good for me. Anything that makes you puffy means that you fed the bad guys in your gut. We have good guys in our gut and we have bad guys in our gut. Prebiotic fibers like non-starchy vegetables, taking a good quality probiotic every day, those feed your good guys in your gut. And we need to have a balance. So I did get a Viome test, and I was almost a whole solid year into the program when I got the Viome test. And they said that my gut is in good shape now, which meant that I had a good amount of good functional bacteria in my gut, and I had a low amount of dysfunctional bad guys in my gut. And that's really good news, really, really good news. That's about a year of really, really working on it. So we don't get a good gut overnight. We've got to really work on our gut to get it to a place where it's functional. The older we get, the more we have to work on it. Once insulin sensitivity and gut health have been remediated, a long-term goal is to incorporate more resistant starches. So this, I'll talk about resistant starches in a moment, but remember that is once you're insulin sensitive, okay, then that means that when you're testing your glucose, you're able to stay or recover back under 120 after you eat. I try to keep myself between 90 and 120 in my glucose every day. And once you get there, then you're insulin sensitive. And so once you have ketones will be doing half the job. So your glucose doesn't have to do all the job, and it'll be easy to keep your glucose under 120. And I know that my gut health is good. So after that, once you get to that place, and that's been a long-term goal for me, and I've been taking probiotics all this time. Once you get to these, that place, you can start to bring in some other things, and that is step 4. So this program is mainly a plant-based diet with a little bit of protein. So they want healthy people on the program to limit our consumption to 1 gram per kilogram of lean body mass. So for me, that's about a 3-ounce portion of meat. That is all the meat I get in my diet. So when I'm making food for myself, for instance, with grass-fed beef, I made some Salisbury steaks the other day in a keto fashion. Made my own mushroom and onion gravy, and I weighed those hamburger patties out to 3 ounces because I know that I've figured out my lean body mass per 0.8 to 1 gram means that my serving size is about 3 ounces, which is no bigger than the palm of my hand. Be aware that the protein goals may be reduced as healing progresses to enhance autophagy. Okay, so that means that 3 ounces can be reduced once I get to certain goals. I can take that down to maybe 2 ounces. And when we think of a keto diet, we think of diets that are rich in butter and rich in cream and rich in meat and bacon and all this stuff. That's not what this 12-3 keto diet is. This is mainly a plant-based diet with small amounts of wild-caught, free-range proteins. All plants create some protein, and if you're eating whole plants, you don't have to worry about not getting enough protein. There's lots and lots of protein in whole plants. If you want to know if you're getting enough protein, download an app called Chronometer. It'll help you to know what the nutrients are that you're eating. It calculates all of the nutrients. As you track your food, it'll calculate all the nutrients to tell you how much energy you're eating, not necessarily how many calories you're eating. Prioritize wild-caught seafood and pastured eggs. Eat heirloom fruit seasonally, depending on what part of the world you live in, and always balance nutritive value against glycemic concerns. Enjoy small portions of wild berries year-round. Unripened tropical fruit like green plantain bananas, green bananas, mangoes, papayas, and kiwi can be eaten in small amounts as resistant starch for their natural digestive enzymes. Lemons and limes are great sources of vitamin C. So remember that this is step 4. You're going to master steps 1, 2, and 3 before you get to step 4. And then comes step 5. Once you've mastered step 4, and then you can go into step 5. Indulgences. Limit amounts of approved sweeteners. Honey and maple syrup are appropriate only if you're insulin sensitive. I eat tiny amounts of honey, half of a teaspoon, tiny amounts of maple syrup, not more than a teaspoon. But I can tell you that a teaspoon of maple syrup mixed into blueberries is very, very sweet. To derive the health benefits of flavonoids, eat small amounts of high cacao chocolate that are low in sugar and don't have cadmium or lead. That is, if you're somebody who likes something like chocolate chips, try to find high cacao chocolate chips that are low in sugar. And you'll know how much sugar is in them when you look at how many carbohydrates there are on the packaging. Even better if they say low cadmium and lead. All chocolate has lead in it. That's just it's just in chocolate. But you can get brands that are lower in chocolate. Limit cocoa nibs and cocoa powder. Avoid cacao powder because of the high levels of lead. Consider a cadmium and lead-free cocoa flavonoid supplement. And if you must eat dairy, look for A2 dairy. All of the milk that you'll find in the grocery store is A1 dairy. They stopped using Jersey cows years and years ago because Jersey cows do not produce as much milk. They started using different kinds of cows that only have one protein. A2 cows, Jersey cows, have 2 proteins in their milk. The second protein helps you to break down the casein in the milk. If you are drinking regular heavy cream, half and half milk that isn't A2, you're only getting that one protein. And that's why so many people have trouble digesting milk. Alcohol is a neurotoxin and is best to be avoided by anyone at risk of suffering with cognitive decline. I make this last exception, and for instance, on my birthday, which is coming up in May, I will have a low sugar red wine. It was hard for me to find, and I get it through the Organic Wine Exchange, and it's I Googled low sugar red wines and organic red wines in order to find this wine. And so I may drink another glass of wine on my birthday, and I haven't had a glass of wine since Christmas. So I leave for very special occasions, small amounts, 1 glass of low sugar red wine. And these are our guidelines, and I can't tell you how many times here on the Apollo Health site I have read through this. I go back and I read through it often. I like to remind myself that these are my guidelines. My sister recently got me one of those meal kit kind of subscriptions where they send you a box and you make your food. And I found that I had to throw out this and I had to throw out that and I had to throw out this in the box and throw out that in the box because it didn't meet these guidelines. I do my best to meet these guidelines because this program helps me keep my cognitive scores very high. And the way I was eating before, my cognitive scores weren't really all that high. In fact, my brain was really suffering. So I know that if I veer from this a little bit, because that happens from time to time where I don't have real strict adherence. And I can see the slip in my cognitive scores when I start having this slip in these guidelines. So I come back to this often because it tells me what to come back to, what works. I did not, for the first 6 months, I ate no fruit at all. I didn't get to level 4. It took me 6 months to get to level 4. And when I was 6 months in and I started bringing in these half cup portions of wild berries, started eating an occasional half of a tart green apple, started eating green plantain bananas, I was able to stay in ketosis at that time. But I couldn't in the beginning. In the beginning, and it took me probably 8 weeks, somewhere between 8 and 12 weeks to get into solid ketosis. It wasn't a quick process. And I don't have metabolic problems, and it was still not easy to get up into the levels of ketosis that this program requires of us to get enough ketones to heal our brain. And next week I'll talk a little bit about ketones. So I'm going to stop the share now.